Today on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, we're not talking about anything Marvel. Oh no, we're going to give our opinions on the Batman. So stick around if you'd like to travel through the multiverse with us.
I am vengeance.
Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
And I'm Ashley Coffin.
I half expected, I am vengeance.
I should have.
Just emphatically, like just over and over. That's all you say this podcast is, I am vengeance.
I am vengeance.
Okay, so it's just, it's just such a big movie. We had to get on here and talk about it a little bit, even though it is not in our chosen universe of choice. But what do you think? What's your first take on the Batman?
I mean, I liked it. There's a couple things I'm going to talk about when we're talking about this, which might make it sound like I didn't like the movie, but overall, I did like the movie. I thought it was good. The movie was too long. It was just too long. That's what I thought it was great. I thought the directing was great. The performances were amazing, but the movie kind of felt like homework in the movie theater. And I am a little biased. I saw it for 4DX, which Ken and I decided, we agreed we will never, ever do that to ourselves again. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot I liked. How about you? What do you think?
I think I'm in a similar, at least quality boat with you. Like, I really liked it. It's a good Batman movie. I think that they really pushed that this one was going to be like a total departure from previous Batman movies. Like, they really pushed how dark and gritty it was going to be. And it was those things, but it's like, it was still just kind of a Batman movie. You know what I mean? Like, it It didn't feel so far from the norm, honestly. It felt pretty much like a Batman movie, which I like. I like a Batman movie, so I ain't mad at it. I love a Batman movie, but I think I was a little disappointed that it wasn't more different, especially as someone who's played. Nothing that they did in this movie is any darker or grittier or even more interesting than the stuff they've done in the games over the last few years. The Arkham series of games. I think this movie very deliberately borrowed from the Arkham series of games. Like, I think it is like really, really evocative of that. There's a lot of scenes that, like, the visuals, the way that Gotham looks, the sort of like realistic, but just a little dirty, disheveled, you know?
Gotham was my favorite character in the entire movie.
Gotham's really great in it, yeah.
It felt dark and seedy and scary, but it also reminded me of the things that I love about living in a metropolitan city. I love the club that it showed. Like, it just, I don't know. There was things about what they did with Gotham in this that I absolutely loved. I mean, it was a neo-noir Batman film, and that's what I absolutely loved about it. I mean, they just had Nightmare Alley come out this year, which was also up for an Oscar, which is a noir. And I've been so happy to see more of these put onto the screen. And I definitely love that they were leaning into him being a detective and the modern day Sherlock Holmes. And I love that they brought that forward. So there were things. I love that it felt more based in the real world with air quotes.
Right.
With the city made, like how it looked. It felt realistic.
The being based in the real world was one of my favorite parts of it, especially for the first half, because the thing that they did that I've never seen in another Batman movie that I really loved is that there didn't seem to be a dividing line between the real world and sort of the superhero world. It always feels like, partially because Bruce is never in the movie. He's Batman through the entire movie. Yeah. He never puts on the mask of Bruce Wayne, which I think we will get.
Emo. He was so emo. He literally was like, "You're not my dad."
He really said, "You're not my dad." That is so funny. Thank you, Ashley. Oh man,
so you're not my dad.
You're not my dad.
We got a lot to say when we get there.
So okay, I guess full spoiler alert. We can get into it, whatever. But one of my favorite things was the fact that there's no dividing line. So the Batman stuff just happens in the real world. It kind of a lot of other Batman movies feel like, hey, I'm Bruce Wayne, I'm at a party, and then now it's Batman stuff. The rules are different. You can do all kinds of crazy flips, and everything feels just so elevated and superhero and CGI or whatever the equivalent is of the day. And this just felt like Batman walking into a crime scene was funny to me in like a way that I loved, because like it felt like this is what it would be like for a guy in a bat suit to walk into the room with a bunch of cops. Like they're like kind of making fun of him, and they're like, who is this guy? This is insane. Like there's a level of that like I've never seen another Batman movie do, where it's like, this guy's in a bat suit, right? Like this isn't okay. Commissioner Gordon seems crazy. Like I'm like, if I were on the force, I would also think Commissioner Gordon looks insane to be bringing this guy into the room.
Yeah, that it was, and that's where when we get a little farther, I'll talk about what my complaints about the villains were, because you have everybody else looking pretty much normal, and then you have Batman in his Batman costume, and it just that is, I feel like that's exactly what you said, was more articulately saying that. And I thought it was interesting that he got like his ass kicked the entire movie. Like he did a good job, but like the combat was great. It wasn't like the Bourne Identity Nolan Batmans or that we've got. Like it's not just impact shots. Like the cameras pan out. We see these wide, beautiful shots of him grappling and flipping and punching people, but not like, destroying people the way he kind of does in these, these ones. And he's taking a lot of hits. So it's not like, oh, I went to this Asian, Dark Shadows camp and now I'm untouchable. Like this Batman was very touchable. And the more realistic they did it, the more I thought it came across really well.
I totally agree. There's something really, really cool about the way they shoot the fight sequences. It's not edited as strangely or like as haphazardly as some of those like Bourne Identity type things, but it is still, it leaves a lot to the imagination. I love those scenes when he's in a lot of darkness, and there's and the only thing lighting it. That one scene where there's only thing lighting it is the muzzle flares of the guns. That is beautiful.
Yeah,
absolutely
the movie
beautiful.
Was shot. It was directed beautifully, and like there was something. Everybody has been talking about how this has been a darker movie, but I thought the end of it had a lot of light. Like, like this is someone who's going to evolve from I am Batman, I am vengeance to I am hope, and I'm here with the torch and I'm walking the mayor and the city towards the future, which I thought was really great. Are they making more of these? Is this supposed to be more than one?
They're making almost too much of this, and I'm excited about it. I really am. They already have like 3 or 4 series in the works,
but the movie specifically, like
right. But I have no doubt that if they, as long as it's successful enough, especially if they're making all these TV shows spinoffs, they're absolutely going to do another Batman movie. Like there's no doubt in my mind.
Okay.
I don't think anything's been announced yet, but like they're definitely putting some chips on this one, which like I'm excited about. I'd love to see more of this, and I like the hopeful ending. I generally like a hopeful ending, but in this case, I think you mentioned it being too long. Here's my take on this movie, really. I think it should have ended at Falcone's death. That felt like the end of the movie. It should have ended with Falcone's death, and then the Riddler telling him, like, I did this because I was working with you. Like, you had this idea, and now we're doing this together. Like, we're here to destroy the city together. The whole ending with, like, there's no reason that character wanted to kill everyone in the city. Like that made no sense to me. The whole like let's kill everyone thing was such a leap at the end. That character wanted to bring down the corruption of Gotham. I thought for the whole movie, we were going to get a movie about, I thought we were going to get Black Panther. And what I mean by that is I thought that we were going to get the end of the movie and we were going to find out that Paul Dano's Riddler was right. His methods were wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I wanted out of this movie.
It got too much to be like the Joker from Nolan, where you're leaving it to the city to do the thing. We already saw that. And then they even had the same scene with Batman in the jail with the Riddler, having pretty much the same scene, but just not as good as the one in The Dark Knight. And I was like, why would you even do this? Why would you even take this thing? And I mean, I really like Paul Dano, and the Riddler reminded me of like a true crime documentary serial killer. Like he was scary, But, if this is supposed to be the origins of these villains, like Catwoman, Penguin, and the Riddler, like, I can be a little bit more accepting to that if these are their, like, villain origins. Because I'm sorry, but, like, you're not a Penguin, you weren't a Catwoman. Like, Selena Kyle was there for me. She was an amazing Selena Kyle. Zoe Kravitz acted it amazingly, but I didn't get a Catwoman out of that because, like, every time she started to fight or do her thing, I'm like, yes, girl. But then she would stop, and I'm like, I just felt like I wanted more of that. And what they did with the Penguin, like, he's supposed to be an aristocrat. Like, you took away his umbrella, like the pomp and circumstance about him. Like, if you're gonna have Batman in a Batman suit, you need her to look like a Catwoman. Which, sure, she had her cute little cutout thing, but it just wasn't enough for me. And he needs to look like a penguin, and he didn't look like a penguin. He looked like a penguin if he was Tony Soprano.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't have as I'm not a stickler for those particular things as much. I'm fine if this is sort of a proto penguin and a proto Catwoman, and I'm fine if even instead of being a penguin, he's just a scarred up dude that like has some problems. Because really the heart of the Penguin story is, yes, he's supposed to be an aristocrat, but he's also supposed to be like kind of an ugly person who sort of like uses his power to like achieve this like criminal status.
Yeah.
But that's one of the spinoffs, by the way, is that Colin Farrell is going to be in a Penguin show, which maybe
which
we'll
is
get
about
all
his
of that.
origins, I think.
I don't even know.
Yeah, but I needed more from the villains. Like, it was good, but then it was like very the long. It just there were scenes that were just so long. Like, there's a scene where Batman listens to a voicemail on speakerphone for 3 minutes, like, and then everybody who's in the scene, they're all just staring at each other. Like stuff like that.
I didn't mind that scene. There's not really anything in particular. I think I just would have chopped the movie off after Falcone's death. Like, him finding him in the cafe and then their really intense conversation in the prison. That's what this movie needed, because it would have ended with what. There's another thing they didn't do, and I really thought they were going there, and they may get there in the next movie if they make a sequel. But I kind of hate that, like, we set all this stuff up to do in the sequel.
Yeah. I hated the stuff with the Riddler, like the fact that he was just caught like that. Like, the story was a little weird. Like, if you're going to take away the Penguin's umbrella, like, why are you making it so the Riddler is like just going to be like, oh, bring him into the light and that's where you're going to find me. And then magically Batman happens to come out of that door with the light. And it's just, wow, the guy happens to be standing right there. Wow. They did that so many times. Like, it just didn't make a lot of sense. Why? I still don't get why the Riddler just gave himself up. Like, it didn't make sense. There wasn't more of a plan there. I mean, if there was, I need to watch it at home again.
Well, no, I just think he was done. His whole goal was to bring down Falcone and to prove all of this stuff. And so his goal was finished. And he literally wanted to let himself be in the arms of Batman at the end. He's like, hey, we're friends. We did this thing together. And he's like, no.
That was my favorite part with
mine too.
Bruce Wayne, like, the Riddler is just laying into Bruce Wayne, and like Robert Pattinson is on the verge of tears. His whole world is just getting mentally destroyed by this villain that he despises. And suddenly the Riddler is like, we almost got him, didn't we? And Batman, like, Robert Pattinson just flips and he's like, oh, he doesn't know I'm Batman.
Yep.
I'm still Batman.
It was so
I
close.
love that. He's like, I was losing my mind too. You almost got him, didn't we? I was like, oh, he doesn't know.
Yeah, he's like looking for cameras in the room. I was just like, oh my gosh, he knows. He's like revealing it, and Batman just quiet. It's a great scene. So good. I think the movie should have ended there.
Right there.
It would have been a perfect Batman movie if it ended right there. And it would have left so much to do in the next movie, but like, they just had to have the big shootout at the end with lots of Riddlers. Like, that feels way too tacked on to me. It doesn't fit the theme of the movie. I was trying to get to this. The other thing that I really missed about this movie is that it sets up all this stuff. And we have talked about this on so many podcasts over the years about Batman and how much of an impact he could have if he just uses money.
Yeah.
And how he could like solve poverty in the city and like do a lot of good. Well, this movie was about that. It's about his father tried to do that, but the mob got in the way. And so this corruption stopped his father from actually saving the city through actual philanthropy.
Philanthropy?
Thank you.
I can't say especially, but
I could try. I was trying philanthropy. I was like philanthropic. No, that's not a noun. Okay, philanthropy. He's like trying to save the city through philanthropy, but then Falcone tries to use his leverage to have that money siphoned off to him, and his father stands up to him, and apparently his father dies for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the movie is set up for you to examine the fact that the way to save the city is through like giving some of your money away, Bruce. And like the reason the city was not saved is because no one was keeping an eye on this like Wayne Foundation fund that was supposed to be funding all these social programs, and no one was asking questions about why it wasn't happening except the Riddler. And like, Bruce, that was your job. I mean, like, I know you're still young and like maybe you couldn't have done it as a kid, but at some point you should have been asking what's happening to all that money that my dad set aside for the city. The city's not being saved. Like, this movie was set up for that question to be asked, and never has a Batman like movie asked that question, that so fundamental question of like, how much good can you do as Bruce? And like, I felt like this was set up for that, and then they just left it on the table. And I thought at the end he was going to be like, here's how I would have ended this movie. They have that conversation, and he realizes that like all of this stuff could have been done, and what if the Riddler, instead of saying, I'm about to kill Bruce because his sins of the father, he's like, Bruce Wayne, he's the one guy who could have stopped all this. He could have saved me as an orphan.
Yes.
He could have watched over his dad's legacy and made this all better, but he didn't. So we got to get him down next. And what if like Batman's standing there being berated that he never did the one thing he could have done to save the city? He's like up there in his ivory tower with all his money. He could have changed it all. And like, he's like feeling, but then he also, what would have been amazing about the next movie is then Bruce is like trying to do the right thing with his money, but now he's started the war of the superheroes. Yeah. So you've got the Riddler and the Joker out there doing supervillain shit, and he has to like still be Batman because now he started a war he can't stop. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. That would be such a great setup. But instead they just like went for an extra hour and did things that didn't matter and kind of destroyed the character of the Riddler by having him, instead of being this like orphan who wants to save the city, like his whole thing was just killing all the corrupt people who were killing all the orphans. And then he says at the end, let's drown all the orphans. Like, what the hell? That's not his character at all. It just felt like they tacked on an extra hour to a movie that was really good.
Did you see who, I mean, they didn't credit that as being the Joker in the end scene, but did you see who that actor was?
Oh, I didn't. Who is it?
It's Druig. It's Barry Keoghan.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
That's
I could see him as a good Joker. I could see that.
Going back to like the detective stuff, I thought that again was cool. But my favorite part was how many times he said stool pigeon. He was like, there's a lot of times he was like, a mouse with wings, stool pigeons. And then he said stool pigeon like 5 times.
He does say it a lot. He says it every time to justify his answer. He's like, like stool pigeon. It's as if he's trying to convince them, like, it's stool pigeon, right? I'm not wrong. The riddle, I'm right? It's stool pigeon. In the
middle of it, he's like, but wait a minute. A penguin also has wings. And then it's like, dun, dun, dun. And he's like, wait a minute. Falcons have wings too. Like, bats have wings. And he says it so many times. I'm like, world's greatest detective style is just guessing riddles and being pretty good at it. Because like when you hear a mouse with wings, you immediately think bat, not Batman.
Absolutely.
He's like, it's a stool pigeon.
Well, you just said it. I was going to try to push back earlier. You said he liked all the detective stuff. I would have liked the detective stuff if there had been any. I like that he solves riddles.
They tried.
He just solves riddles. Like, it's not that he's a detective in this movie. He's really not. Like, Commissioner Gordon is, and there's like, he does like follow some leads. Like, he follows the lead of the girl who's at the club and goes like, and meets Catwoman, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he's not really like solving the case. He's just solving riddles that are given to him as riddles. Like, he knows those riddles are there to be solved.
Those clues were like the riddles were ridiculous. Like there's absolutely no way anyone is smart enough to get these clues. Or like when he had to pull up the carpet and he's like, oh, well, here's the carpet remover. Dun-dun. Oh, I'm going to need it. I guess it's to pull up the carpet. I'm just like, just stop it. Just stop it right now.
as an escape room fan,
Did you love that?
I enjoyed the riddles.
I'm bad at them.
As soon as the guy said it was a carpet thing, I was like, oh, pull up the carpet, Batman.
And it was, I appreciate camp. And it was campy sometimes because like Batman would just show up out of nowhere and be like, hi.
Yeah. I loved
Like
it.
he was like, like Batman, are you being like dark side edgelord or a symbol of hope? I'm really not sure right now.
But what I loved is he's both of those things, but he's also just a guy in a bat suit walking around in boots. Like, it's so funny to me. So funny to me. And I love that. And like, I think it was supposed to be. I don't think it's like just a joke that he's Batman. Like, I think it's very funny. And I think the movie knows it's very funny that Batman walks in awkwardly and stands among regular people. Like, that is so funny. There is almost no gravitas to this Batman.
No.
It feels like a very beginner Batman, and I enjoyed that.
So because the movie was so long, I kept finding myself distracted with certain things that I would make me laugh and I couldn't let go of for the whole movie. So it's like Batman. It's like when you do that with your makeup and you're wearing a mask and you take it off, it doesn't look too cool when you're sitting there looking like you have the crow makeup on. Like he took that cowl off and just had like mascara running down his face. And it just took me back to flashbacks from like nights when we would party to like 4 a.m. and you'd be crawling around on the ground and you'd pass a mirror and be like, oh shit. Like that's what I saw. And then on top of that, I loved the scene where he goes with the backpack, like his suit's in the backpack. And I'm just laughing to myself, picturing him with like a little makeup mirror, like, oh my God, I got to get this eyeshadow on. Oh God, but the penguin's getting away. Like, what am I going to do? Because he always had that black and he definitely had his suit in the backpack and had to go put it on. And I just see him with a compact. And then that gets me into a full 15 minutes of thinking about what his makeup regimen is. I'm like, are you using NYX? Are you using waterproof? Like even his waterline was lined too. Like, okay, Miss Thing, he was taking some time on his makeup, and I found, because the movie was so long, like those were the things I was kind of thinking about, and all of you have to now too.
Yeah, yep. I think it is too long, and specifically, I just really feel strongly that they should have like just cut it after Falcone and the Riddler conversation. Like it just would have been a great movie, and now it's like this movie that's like good, but it's good. It's good. It's good. Mm-hmm. Speaking of him being kind of a normal person and not having any gravitas, one of my favorite bits, and it really was a joke, him trying to use the flying squirrel suit off of the building. Yeah. And he does, but then he like runs into a bridge, and I've never seen Batman fail so hard, which, you know, it's something we all love from the Iron Man movies, is those scenes of trial and error and him like failing and getting better at it and failing. And then by the end of the movie, he's a really good Iron Man. And I like that, like, there's still room for this guy to grow. Like, he can't fly yet. You know, he can't glide yet. Not even a little. It's so bad. It's very, very funny.
I was just watching Batman Forever the other day, and after Nicole Kidman, turns on the light and tries to like horn him down, he jumps off the building, through the mist, down past the bridge, and lands directly into his Batmobile, where he closes it and goes, ugh, women. And I'm like, women? How did you just get into your Batmobile? You just jumped like 200 stories. Are we not? Okay, Val.
That is so funny.
Somebody said something to me about the end that I don't remember seeing. Somebody was shooting themselves up with some kind of green liquid. Was it Batman?
Oh, I don't recall that. I didn't see that.
Somebody was like, oh, I feel like they're laying the footwork for Bane because he was shooting himself up with green liquid. And I'm like, Batman? He's like, I actually don't remember who it was, but I know I saw it. I'm like, problems of a 3-hour movie.
I don't remember that.
No, I'll have to look into that then.
I mean, there's definitely like precedent for that in the comics and stuff of like, or even in the games of just like people using like the Titan formula and stuff that Bane has. But like, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I did not notice it in the movie. But anyway, it's good, not great.
The performances are great. The direction is incredible. It should not have been 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I liked all the Hope stuff. I just wanted him to like learn the lesson of the Hope should not have been Batman can be can also rescue people, which is true, but like, it should have been like Batman can do more. I don't know. I really wanted him to go with the like this billionaire can do more than run around in a bat
like,
suit.
I could have saved the goddamn mayor. I could have taken him through that fence. You just had to move the gate.
Right.
You know?
He's like, he has that whole thing about like how he wants to do good and now he's going to do things that lead people to hope. But he just like walks and has them follow him. He's not even like using his Batman abilities.
This way.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like leading them out of the water. Like anyone with a right mind could have walked. Like they didn't even need him. They should have just like once he moved a little thing. That's true. He moved a thing.
The fence.
But any person could have moved that thing. Like it wasn't even a superpower. He didn't even use any gadgets. He just like went over there and lifted a thing off, which was helpful to the mayor being trapped in the water.
Yeah. And I liked Pattinson as, emo edgelord Batman. He was great.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see him grow into the role. I think that his talent as an actor was actually covered up in this movie a little bit. I know he's better than what we saw in that. It almost gave me Twilight vibes, the way he was emoing around. And I was like, no, babe, I know you can do better than this. Okay, it's not, this is what they told you to do. And I just want to see it grow because this could, very well turn into my favorite Batman franchise. Easily.
Sure.
They
it really
need
could.
to work at it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like Batman Begins. I honestly didn't. I was like, what is this? How everybody I love is in this movie. And I didn't, except Katie Holmes, and I didn't like originally what they did with it. Going back and watching it again after the other two movies came out, I like it a little bit more. So maybe that'll happen with this, but I don't know.
See, I'm sitting there watching it and I agree with you. He's one note, but I liked the note. I liked the emo. I liked emo Batman.
It was a good
note.
Really
Did. But
you're not my dad, Matt.
What I really wanted was, and I know I'm sorry to harp on it, but like I really wanted him to learn that lesson of the Bruce Wayne part of himself, and I wanted the movie to either end or the next movie to begin. It may, and it still may, with like him taking on the role of Bruce Wayne and it really being a separate identity. You know what I mean? Like I love the animated series and he's Batman and then, hey, I'm Bruce Wayne. Like he's like just like a totally different guy. Like he does such a good job with that in the animated series. And I was really hoping that like the thing is like they always say that the Bruce Wayne part of him is
the facade,
is the mask. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Bale does it really well.
I agree completely. But what I really want to see from this Pattinson is that duality and like and maybe even struggling to be that duality because he isn't naturally Bruce Wayne. He's naturally Batman, and I want to see him struggle to try to become that in the next movie.
I love that, and like Alfred helping him and being like, "You got to be Bruce Wayne for your parents' legacy." Oh wait, that was already done.
I was like,
I like Andy Serkis. I like Andy Serkis a lot.
Me too.
He was great. I expected more from him. I didn't, when they're like, "Oh, we're gonna kidnap and kill Alfred," I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Again,
well, he doesn't die.
No.
Which I was really worried he was going to die because I was like,
worried too. I was like, man, we're gonna have to find a new Alfred already.
It was really sad when I thought he might die. I thought he was dead. It seemed like they had actually killed him off for a second. And then, but I love the scene in the bed. Like, there's something really, really touching when he tells him, tells him that he's someone that he cares for. I never could go through that again. I never I'd never want to lose someone I care for like that again. And then they just touch hands. Like, oh. It was really, really nice. It was very, very male. Like we can't really say our full feelings, but I'm saying them. But I'm not saying them about you. I'm just saying that like I couldn't go through that thing again. That him pointing to this situation is similar. But I'm not going to say it out loud. I liked it.
I liked it too. They were great. I give it like if it's 1 out of 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. I give it like a solid 3.7.
Yeah. I would be in a similar area. Yeah. Like high threes.
I can't wait to watch it at home when it comes back out or when it comes out on HBO Go to really be able to focus. Because I messed up. I got the 4DX and like the car chase scene and things like that. And now I love, I'm an action junkie. I love those scenes. But like, You're not creating tension, making me think that Batman's going to die in this car chase. I don't think that Batman's going to die. Why are you wasting time with this?
Well, they did do a good thing with that scene where they put that in the trailer. Him jumping through the flames was in the trailer. So that's not even the goal of that. It was just the goal of like freaking the Penguin out, which I don't know. I liked Colin Farrell's Penguin a lot.
Oh yeah, he was great. The performances were great. But was that so when we were watching it, I remember like I nudged Ken and I leaned over and I was like, is that a Catwoman for you? And he doesn't answer me. He just rolls his eyes. And then I lean back and I'm like, no. And Penguin, I didn't get anything that would have you could have named that character any character name. Mm-hmm. That was not very Penguin. You're calling him Oz. We're being real cool with him. Why is he the Penguin? I'm getting a TV show to tell me why. Thank you. I shouldn't need that.
Right. I hear you. I guess I bought it. I've just recently watched all of Gotham, that show.
Okay.
And it's sort of similar. There is a little more of the like umbrella coat with tails. Does he have an umbrella?
There's some things that you can't take away from them.
But he doesn't always have the umbrella. The Gotham is all about like sort of a proto whatever. Like they become the characters throughout the series. And Penguin on that show is really good. But he's basically just like a mobster guy. And not even that at the beginning. He sort of becomes a mobster guy as the series goes on, and then sort of gets more power and stuff. But he's always kind of just this sneaky. But he has a limp, which is why they call him the Penguin, because he has this sort of like he sort of waddles around.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a nice way to give him like a little bit of a penguin-esque thing, and he has a kind of whatever, like a face that's sort of shaped bird-like, sort of angular features, and a limp. And then they're like, look at the penguin over there, So it's like an insult they gave him, and then it sort of like becomes who he's recognized
his nickname.
as. Yeah.
Okay. You see, I didn't get that from any of this.
Yeah, Colin. I don't get that yet either. Why do they call him the Penguin? I don't even remember if they explain it. Yeah, I didn't mind it. I guess because of my experience with the Gotham one, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, the Penguin as just a mobster guy is fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
But they didn't give him a good reason to call him the Penguin. I'm sure we'll get that in the show if that comes through and exists.
I think they were moving forward with a couple different DC things from this, and they scrapped all of them except that one. So,
did they scrap the others except for that one?
They scrapped the PD one.
GCPD.
Yeah.
They also had an Arkham show they were planning. So
I think they scrapped the PD one to do the Arkham one.
Okay, and then there's also a Penguin one.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they're doing Arkham and Penguin. I wonder if Arkham will have the two from the end.
Paul Dano I've followed his acting career. I think he's great. He's one of those, indie film. He's very picky with his roles. So I'd be interested to see if he's doing these television series, or if, not to say he's kind of selling out, because it's not selling out to be in, anybody would do it. But sure. If he's involved, I expect a higher level, because he crushed, he was a great Riddler. He was scary. He was more of a Jeffrey Dahmer than a Riddler, but I mean, that was fine. I really liked what he was doing. I would like to see that more of him in a television show or whatever, but I expect a certain level from it if he's in it, I guess.
Yeah, same. And honestly, this whole movie, I expected a certain level of quality from because of Paul Dano and because of Andy Serkis and some great people in here. And it delivered on most of it. I really feel like they just felt like they had to do the big superhero ending, and they just didn't. It could have been just a small story. Like they could have saved a ton of the budget. They could have just done the small story about the Batman and the Riddler.
Even you could have done that in 2 movies, and it would have been great. Sure. Like I don't want it really did feel like homework. Like I feel like I missed things and there are things that I just want to pay attention more to. In 3 hours, you just can't do it. If we weren't have been in the 4DX, Ken would have fell asleep, because at one point it was the car chase thing. I see Ken fly forward when I realized he has fallen asleep, but the chair's activated. So I had to literally put my hand up and pull him back to the chair. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep my hand on you this entire time now, because I'm not trusting that you're not going to get whiplash.
Or just get thrown out of the chair or something.
In his defense, it wasn't the movie. He's been working, this will be his 3rd week working straight and he was tired.
Oh man,
It was yeah.
Yeah, if you're falling asleep in a 40X theater, you're in a 40X seat, you're probably not in a very awake place.
So he said if it wasn't for that, he would have missed the whole movie.
Golly. That's funny.
Yeah.
What was his reaction? I think you surprised him with 40X, didn't you?
I did. He was not thrilled.
Oh.
But I forgot how much I hated it too.
Oh, okay.
Because the last thing we saw was Rise of Skywalker. And that was when we had ordered. So I don't know if anybody has this experience, but the bars in movie theaters are terrible. None of those people are bartenders. They don't know what they're doing. So I ordered a ginger mule. A Jack and ginger ale. Not Jack. I'm sorry. Wrong boys. A Jameson and ginger. Getting it in there. This guy gave us a can of ginger ale and an entire Solo cup filled with Jameson. We were hammered by the end of that movie.
Yeah. A whole Solo cup?
He came back
like a red Solo cup?
Red Solo cup. There it was clear. It was clear. So it was even worse. So I had this. I was like, what? I guess in their mind, I'm supposed to sip the ginger ale and then sip the Jameson. But now we're shaking everywhere. So we have to get that cup halfway down pretty quickly because I got 2 freaking 13-year-olds sitting next to us.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of 13-year-olds sitting next to you, I was on a plane yesterday, and me and Jay Scotty are about to cover The Boys Diabolical, the new cartoon show, which I think you might like. It's animated, but it's really dark. It's really dark. That's the thing, though. It got really dark. It's really sexual, really violent. And I'm on this plane with like 2 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds sitting next to me. And I'm covering my screen. I had headphones on, but I'm like covering my screen because there's just like superheroes having sex and superheroes destroying each other and like just body parts everywhere. And I'm just like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to just cup the screen here and not show you children this show that's very dark, but it's a cartoon, so you'll be like, ooh, what's that? Oh, what's that? It also was just an embarrassing thing to be watching, honestly, like especially the cartoon. There was a really pretty intense cartoon sex scene in it, and I was just like, this was not a good thing for the plane. This was not a good call.
I always watch whatever people around me are watching just to see what's going on, and I've had a couple times where I'm like, oh no, I'm just going to cover this. This is embarrassing. I'm like, they put it on their movie thing.
Oh, yeah. This was definitely me on my phone.
But still, yeah, I get it. Whatever. They need to learn sometime.
It was literally the only thing I had downloaded on my phone, so I had no other options but to sit there in silence. So I was like, oh man, I guess I'll finish this.
We're finally going to get the intense superhero orgy scene in The Boys season 3.
Oh, really?
I've been hearing a lot of things about it for a while.
That's funny. I'm excited about The Boys season 3.
There's a
new trailer for it. I don't know if you've seen it.
Really? My boyfriend's in it. Jensen Ackles is going to be their Captain America from Supernatural.
Yeah. Were you a big Supernatural fan?
Ken and I are together because of Supernatural.
Oh, that's funny. I remember that now. I remember you watching this finale when it came out.
I can't say that it stayed good through the entire thing, but because it was 20 seasons or something, but I have brand loyalty. I'll stick through it, baby.
That's right. Okay, cool. Well, I'm excited about that season, and the cartoon version was good. I'm going to try to do something for the PandaVision where we cover the trailer maybe or something.
Okay.
I was going to just do it with Jay Scotty, but I'll let you know if it's a time you can do or whatever. Cool to have you on. All right, cool guys. Well, we will talk to you soon. That's about all from us. We'll be back very, very soon, very shortly. I think Jeff's going to be hopping on this week for couple commissioned episodes because we've been trying to do commissioned episodes, but Jeff has been very busy with life stuff and hasn't been able to hop on, so saving the commissions for when he can be here. So we'll get those very soon. Peace.
I am vengeance.
Until next time, vengeance.
You're so much better at it.
Just a dude. Thank you for joining us for the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, available everywhere you get podcasts, and now a video version streaming live on twitch.tv/strandedpandatv and available at youtube.com/strandedpanda. And if you'd like to learn more about all of our other podcasts, geeky projects, and ways to support the network, visit strandedpanda.com.